Greetings and shalom. I had some thoughts come to mind and um, some things in the description as usual and verses. It's just it's a big thing. I'd say monstrous, using it out of like good for being huge. It's a big deal. Maybe well, that word is usually only used for like evil in this world. Maybe that's not the best word because of having monster in it, but no matter. Um, I read some of them too, but we read, well, might as well now to read what Messiah says on You Heard It Was So. Find those verses, find them real quick. Okay, Matthew 5. Furthermore, it has been said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say to you, there it is, but I say to you, whoever divorces his wife for any reason except sexual immorality or fornication, there causes her to commit adultery. Notice that it causes the other person also to commit adultery, and whoever marries a woman who is divorced commits adultery. Now, how could the world love these things and love the truth? This is what the world does constantly, is break these words and is in sin and adultery constantly. But this is for believers not to do and learn and do, for those that actually believe in Messiah and not just say so. It's not for a believer to do these things. So then a lot of understanding and seeking his will to make a way is needed so that somebody doesn't divorce for any reason except sexual immorality from the believer's eyes, from their point, from our perspective, if you will. Although if the other person does something and there's just nothing that can be done, these words would have still been kept if that person didn't do this in their own heart and didn't want to do this and do this from their choosing and doing this, except for sexual immorality. Again, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to Yehovah. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is Elohim's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. Now, what is this meaning? Why are we reading now Messiah teaching for his people just not to do what swearing is, what man thinks that is, what this world does? Do not do. Because the natural man of old, which applies for everyone today, because the natural man is the same Adam of old. But Messiah is teaching out of his word, though, of course, Father's truth and word. Why not to swear and do what this swearing is that the world already does? For the picture, this is what man does. He does this all the time, because you can't even make one hair white or black. Where's the power? No power, none. So this is sin to do this. But the natural man doesn't know. He doesn't do anything except sin. So then swearing, when we read, but it was you heard of old, that is the only understanding man has of himself when he doesn't deny himself and have actual faith in the Father to do his will and deny himself of any working of self and breaking spiritual Sabbath every day while keeping some kind of literal Sabbath is what the natural man is. He breaks what it means in the heart all day long, which is the heavenly only highest understanding. If someone's sinning in the heart, they're in death. Anything else they do for what they think they keep for law is worthlessness at best. And at worst, it's killing them. They're in death for keeping the law because they do not do it with faith. They do not deny themselves as Messiah did and have the true faith. They don't truly believe in him. They're working of their own works and their own understanding in religion in this world. So swearing is a type. Swearing was a type of saying yes or no, because here we read, nor shall you swear by your head, but let your yes be yes and your no, no. This is not for unbelievers. This is for a believer that knows the Father through his Spirit saying yes, which is the actual power of the type of, which is swearing from man's self. This is the reality of swearing. Therefore, swearing that carnal thing is not for a believer to do, because the Spirit is given, and our yes is yes in heaven and on earth, one, on earth as it is in heaven. Therefore, there is no need to swear either, because if we're speaking truth, we know we're in the truth and we're commended by the Father. He tells us, he speaks to us and says, what you say is true. If people don't like it or believe it, it doesn't matter. You have to do what's right. And your no, no. Also for no, for just to be no, for whatever is more than these is from the evil one. So the natural man never was of the Father in spirit concerning the heart, but he was the religious carnal man and self-righteous that never knew what the Father's law meant at any time, but he hears and looks at the letters and goes off of it and thinks he understands and knows what it means. And the Father allowed this to be so to prove this massive thing, and he also is the one that's long-suffering and has much patience on evil and the wicked, and that there was none righteous, no, not even one, all that time. No one was righteous of self for real, but he thought so. The natural man thinks so, but the reality is no one is righteous of self. But then you speak from the other side, from what man understands and thinks, that he is righteous of the law, of the Bible, of God, of Jesus Christ in the religion and church world. And none of it is so. And they do not deny themselves. Therefore, they do not know the Father. They don't have his Spirit. They don't know him. They don't believe in him. They don't believe he speaks to his people at all in spirit, through his Spirit to us, to believers. They do not actually believe that. They just say the words and act like they do and try to create the image of what those words mean so that they look like what they think it means. And when someone's doing that, they never do the Father's works and good real things. They only act and make a show for what they think it means outwardly. And swearing is one of these things. You heard it was said. We don't swear like that from ourselves. I swear on my grandma, I swear on my head, I swear on my life, which is your head. You can't have life without a head. Therefore, when people swear by their life, they swear on their head. They don't have to say those words exactly to do what Messiah says that people swear by. Yes, they do swear by their head when they swear by their life and other people's lives. But in reality, no one can even make one hair black of themselves, of their own power. They just can't say words and let it be done like the Creator does. So it's a God in its own mind. It says words, and therefore man speaks, and therefore it is in his mind. He's so prideful, and there is no reality to this. He speaks, and therefore it is. And the Father allows man to do things like, I shall turn on this vacuum. And because I said so, and then completed my own prophecy by purposely turning it on, this now means I am God. I made the vacuum cleaner turn on because I said I would, and because I was able to do what I said, therefore, whatever I speak, it shall be done. Monstrous. How about all the times every day when people do things that they don't want to do and do it anyways in slavery? Every day they do things they don't want to do. What about that? Can you stop that? one thing with another witness, one time with two witnesses, that someone cannot do what they really want to do, there goes that teaching that they can speak and therefore it is. Has nothing to do with the truth. If we see two witnesses one time in life about anything at any time, that someone cannot do what they say or want to do in their heart secretly, it's over. Therefore, they never do what they say of their own power. But what's happening naturally is the Father gives people to be able to move around and do things. That has nothing to do with the meaning and truth of us being Elohim Almighty speaking, and therefore it is. Because I was able to turn that vacuum cleaner on does not prove at all that I have power of myself and am the creator and Elohim myself. That therefore I speak and therefore I do what I said. That did not prove I am Elohim at all, zero. Because if one time someone proves that someone cannot, no matter how hard they try or wanted to, do what they wanted to one time in life, it's over. Can't pick and choose one side. Which one is it? Are you the creator or not? Because if you can't do it once, that's not the creator. The creator can do what he says. He speaks and therefore it is. Every time he wants to, he can do that. He doesn't fail. Therefore, if there's one failure, that you are not the creator. I am not the creator. One time, and that proves forevermore in someone's whole life that they're not the creator. They cannot do what they say. And therefore it is, because we just proved that they cannot do what they want to do in their heart. Those things are constantly being proven. So what about those, carnal man? Oh man, what about that? Did they forget? So they just pick 1%. If I can just do 0.01% of it one time, this is so backwards perfectly, then that proves to them they have power, free will, and are gods in their own heart and mind. When the reality is exactly 180 from that. If one time, 0.01%, I can find someone not able to do 0.1% what they really wanted to do, and they literally could not do it, didn't go the way they wanted, or whatever it is, that proves, that 0.1% forever proves they are no God in the heart at all at any time. But the natural man, being wicked and backwards as he is, searches and digs for 0.1% of what he thinks is proof that he can do whatever he says. So if I can turn this vacuum on, saying and then doing, that forever proves to the natural man he's God forever, while he ignores all the times the Father proves that they cannot do what they want and cannot just snap their fingers and make it be. How many examples can be given? Hours and hours can be given if enough thoughts and remembrance to works in reality. All day long, there's things that people are not able to do, cannot do, not able to do what they really want to do, doing what they don't want to do constantly, going places where they don't really want to go in their heart, but they had to, unable to have any power to do otherwise. All day long, examples can be given constantly that proves man cannot speak, and therefore it is. Just because the Father allows man to do what he plans, so often someone plans something and then he allows them to do it, this tricks them into thinking they are gods and can do whatever they plan and want, while ignoring all the evidence all around them constantly proving otherwise. It's partial like that with everything. It's God in its own heart. Let your yes be yes, no your no. Messiah is not teaching to break his word, but no one can just read this and understand it in religion just because they thought about it for a few minutes and read something. It's not how it works. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Exodus 21, Leviticus 24, Deuteronomy 19. But I tell you not to resist an evil person. That means to not resist them. Are they confused about Messiah's teachings for those that claim to believe in him and Jesus Christ? This means to never resist the evil person and the evil they do. Do they obey this? Never. It's laughable that someone obeys and knows what this means in religion. They don't do this. They hate it. They hate what it means. But whoever slaps you on your right cheek, now further confirming a little what that meant, I tell you not to resist an evil person. Turn the other to him also. If anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let him have your cloak also. Whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him 2. Give to him who asks, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away. They have no power in faith concerning doing good, do they, mankind? Religion, the beast, the harlot. The natural man doesn't do this, can't do this. He shakes inside. He instantly does the evil and whatever is backwards from the truth. He has no power to do good at all at any time, and never completes and does this at any time from his heart, because an image is not real and doesn't prove anything. It's an image. Looking like something to try to prove you do it in the heart is nothing. It doesn't prove anything. Let me say sorry real quick. Okay, sorry. See, I did it. Doesn't prove anything. That's nonsense. The flesh profits nothing. My words are spirit. We read. Didn't prove anything. Some outward image and carnal look-alike thing on the outside can never prove someone is doing it in the heart. What we read and proves that they understand it. They don't understand the Father's word. They don't seek him for understanding on all these things. And there's so many examples over and over again, and doctrines and things we can bring up that they constantly break and contradict. And you could pick almost just about it. You can pick anything. And if the Father's given understanding on it, some understanding, can see what the lie is and that they don't obey or know what these things mean. Because the natural man does repay. That's all he can do. We're not supposed to take vengeance or repay the enemy with an evil heart. That has to be seen what repaying and evil and threats are. Threats are evil works from the heart, threatening the enemy because of cowardly fear within, because no faith in the Creator. Proof of no faith, needing to threaten someone and do evil back to them, is proof in heaven of no faith. If someone continually does that and never does the good, that is proof of no faith at all, because they always return evil for evil, threaten, which is evil, threatening the enemy. I'm going to come and get you through passive aggressive darkness, threatening through darkness, and so often never able to say what someone's heart actually believes and says. But they do it through darkness, threatening someone. They imply it through what they said. And then because they do that, when someone says, "Are you threatening me?" Someone says, "No, I'm not." And they just did. Yes, they did. But because they said it in darkness, they thought nobody could see that that was a threat. Stupid, oh man. Stupid, foolish man. That carnal man is, that everyone is of self. They'll say, "No, I didn't do anything," because of how they said the words, because they did it through darkness, and they think nobody can see at all. The Creator cannot see at all what they just did in their works. And the enemy can never believe that a believer is seeing what someone is doing, because they do their works in darkness. They think they hide through their words and doctrines, and they do it through darkness. And because they didn't say it directly, word for word, they create their own law in their mind because they didn't say it word for word and openly. That means they think that no, they didn't do that, when that's the only thing they did is threaten someone. But because they said it slyly, through a secret threat, implying it, they think now, because they did not say the words directly, "I will kill you, I will threaten you if you do this," that they didn't threaten someone now, because man works in darkness. Now he's going to deny that he did that thing in his heart if asked. "Nope, I didn't do that. I didn't say that." How many times has someone heard in this world, "I didn't say that"? Yes, you did. And when you imply someone going for a walk is going to rob your house by saying there's robbers everywhere and they're going to rob the house, then when you say, "You said I will rob your house," then they say, "No, I didn't say that." Yes, they did. But because they did it through darkness, implying it secretly, thinking no one can see, because they didn't say the words openly in the light and directly what their heart really thinks and is doing, now they think they didn't do that evil work. They'll say, I didn't say that, and smirk, thinking they're wise while doing evil. That's why someone smirks. Make no mistake. They smirk because they love the evil that they just did and thought it was wisdom. And it's utter stupid foolishness in reality. It's no wisdom at all. It's the exact opposite. It's foolishness. It's easy to see for those that have been given, and that work is retardedly stupid, evil, and foolish. You have heard it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, pray for those who spitefully use and persecute you. When is man doing this? When is Jesus Christ followers in Christianity ever obeying these words at any time? I don't see that they ever do. They hate what this actually is. They never keep it. That you may be sons of your Father in heaven. What is the son of the Father? Someone who does the Father's actual works and believes in him and seeks to do his will. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brethren only, what do you do more than others? Do not even the tax collectors do so? Therefore you shall be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect. Or is the priest and the pope and the minister behind the pulpit somebody's God and commander, carnal commander, like Moses now, commanding carnal things that he does not understand at all in the heart? Is that their father and God, an idol that they worship, and not the Creator? When someone has any other Elohim besides the Father, they don't have just one or two, they have many gods, many Elohims besides the Father, and idols. And these are idols also at the same time. An idol, worshiping the minister that says, but the minister told me, and they never seek the Creator themselves. They never test what that person says themselves. They just blindly believe what the minister says because that minister teaches people to sin in the heart for real, and that's why someone supports them and says, but my minister said, my pastor said. I thought you only have one teacher. Don't you read, Christian? Isn't Messiah your pastor, your minister, your master? Isn't he the teacher, the true teacher, the only one, and the Father to actually teach the heart and receive from him? No, but people are the popes and ministers and leaders of religion that teach people, and they get off on carnally commanding in the flesh. When someone obeys them, they get off on that obedience because that was worship towards the pastor. That was worshiping their wicked command that has nothing to do with the truth from their heart, but only looks like something on the outside. Everyone loves those who love you. That's what Messiah is saying. Everyone in the world does the wickedness. So what reward will you have by doing evil? And what everyone else does? Zero reward. That's teaching the reward. What is this at the same time? We don't have to read the words right here, right now. We have elsewhere in his word. That's teaching the reward, no reward. Does that mean it's not sin and wicked? No, it means it's sin and wickedness to not do this. It also means that too. It's no reward. And if it's no reward from him, that means it's sin and wickedness done in the heart to do what everyone else in the world does. Everyone can scratch someone's back if they scratch theirs. That's not doing good at all. That's wickedness. That's partiality. Partiality is sin. If someone does a partial work, all that work was wicked. There was no good in it at all, no matter how good it looked to people, to self, on the outside for an image. To never do good to those that do evil to you is all wickedness. It's faithlessness. It cannot believe the Father will give, reward, protect us through any given situation. It's faithlessness. Perfectly no faith to do evil back to someone and threaten them, threaten their life, but what will the enemy do to the truth? It will claim you do evil to them, even though you don't. But someone has to know whether they did evil for sure. Believer has to know, because the enemy's not going to know. They'll just accuse you no matter what you do. They'll always say you do evil when someone does good works. They call it evil all the time, only evil. They'll say you're doing wickedness and murderous hatred and bitter cursing for giving truth to the enemy, because the truth is their enemy. It's attacking them, the truth. It needs to be told to them why they think that. It's the truth they hate. Stop trying to cop out and work around it always to exclude self from any sin and evil and sin guilt that they do themselves. It's the truth they hate. They automatically say someone murders them and wants to kill them because they violently hate the truth. That's what they hate. They'll take opportunity to condemn and accuse you of doing evil, to make them look innocent, righteous, and good, because it's a coward inside. It cannot do the truth. It cannot see that it hates the truth and acknowledge that. It's afraid to. It can't do it. What about that? Has anyone ever told someone that what the enemy actually does, that it's a coward, and their definition of coward is so that it hides that it's a coward? It creates a false definition of coward, like not fighting back, like looking afraid and walking away from evil. That's the world's definition of coward. And if that's the world's definition of coward, that hides in their mind that they are the actual true coward according to his word, and what coward means in heaven and not on earth by the wicked man. Any false definition for anything replaces the truth and is against the truth. Therefore, when someone believes that's what coward is, they apply righteousness to themselves by saying they're not a coward at all, because they did the uncowardly thing by fighting back. They proved they weren't a coward in their own delusional mind that's deceived and darkened heart and mind and spirit utterly. It's applying righteousness to itself by a false definition to something. These are the doctrines of Pharisees. It's leaven. It grows in someone and it corrupts them utterly, and it's like a cancer. And it spreads and grows until they're puffed up and lumped perfectly, meaning fully evil at the end, which is the end of that way that leads to death, which must be everyone's way apart from doing the Father's will in the good, narrow way. It must go in the other direction and get worse and worse. They can't stop it. It's already happening and always has been happening. Someone is a greater sinner and more hardened and wicked at 80 than they were at 40. The only way when it's not the Creator's way. There's no other way. There is no one sitting in the middle, not going anywhere. It's either waxing worse or better, closer to the Father or away from Him more. So then growing in Messiah, like we read, to grow thereby, the milk doctrine, His word, anything to grow in Him is getting better, closer to the Father, that direction, the narrow way, the good way, or unbelief, waxing worse and worse and getting worse and worse in the heart and more hardened every day that goes by. That's what's happening in reality. The world won't believe it. That's what's happening in someone's heart for real, because the Father's word is never a lie and His judgments are always true. And they never fail and never are wrong at any time. When you have a carnal worldly priest and judges the natural way, the only way man knows, which is what this world already is. And the judges in this world is already what natural Jerusalem was. They execute judgment and repay eye for eye, literally, which is wicked. It's wickedness in the heart. It's hypocrisy, because they're guilty of all the things they condemn and judge themselves. Because you can't be doing that literal work and not be a hypocrite. That's evil, to stick a sword in someone's gut, to slap them back if they slapped you. They're already a hypocrite. It's already over. They are guilty of what they judge and condemn. That's what the world is. A believer needs to know that's what it is, and we're not going to change the world. It has to be that way. Nevertheless, that is wickedness and sin for a believer to know not to do any of these things. The world will do it always. We don't speak out of trying to stop the world and changing it like the Christianity pretends to. They have no idea why we're speaking and from where we're speaking and the intention and understanding from out of which we speak from the Father's Spirit. They already will apply and add to your word that you're doing something you're not doing constantly and accuse you of doing what you're not doing constantly because they don't see anything. They just need to go and murder people to protect themselves because that's what a lion does. It needs to kill others so that it saves itself. That's a coward. Lions are cowards in reality. That literal work is a coward. It's so afraid and faithless that it has to fight back because it's worried if it doesn't, it will look bad in this world. That's how afraid of it is for its image to others. It worships itself and its image massively. It's afraid of what people in the world will think because a limping beast is easy prey in this world. So you have to do what you think looks good to the world, which is always pride and wickedness. And that's looking good. That's man's definition of good. Evil is man's definition of good at all times in his heart. He calls evil good and good evil. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Woe to them that put light for darkness and darkness for light. That is man's heart. That is what the world is. Woe to them. And when they're told they want to keep doing evil, they murder you right back while they smile and smirk through their working of darkness, thinking, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Then they justify their murder when they kill someone. They'll justify it to say that they didn't murder anyone. Their heart literally cannot believe that it murdered someone. No, it can't. It can't accept that in the heart. It justifies it, and it's not accepted by the Father. Therefore, they go in great fear, death, and judgment because it's not working. Their justification isn't working it within themselves. They're judged. They go insane for killing someone. They go in severe death and judgment for doing it, proving that their justification isn't working. I had to do it. You made me do it. You didn't give me any other choice. Gotta kill you. Sorry. Gotta go. Wicked. It's all that Hollywood has ever taught because that's what this world is. It's only projecting and replaying and acting what the world already is. It cannot be anything else except itself. Man cannot be anything else in reality except for what his heart already really is. Therefore, if it's wicked, all it can project in Hollywood is wickedness. It's not wisdom. It's just taking what it is and showing it on screen. That's it. There's no wisdom to it. But the world calls it wisdom. When you trick and deceive someone, that's wisdom. Look at that. He tricked him. He did this or that. 1,000 ways to do that and show that. They call that wisdom when someone deceives someone. The good guy deceives the bad guy. That's wicked to deceive your enemy. They can't tell them the truth because they only do evil. Nobody can tell the truth apart from the Father, from the heart, out of the intention and knowing what truth is and wanting to, out of the intention of doing truth and good. They can't do that. They're very cowardly, afraid of good. They never can do it because of how afraid they are. They try to hide that fear and they come up with all kinds of false, lying, devil definitions to everything to hide their cowardly fear and apply cowardly fear to something that isn't cowardly fear. Like running away from evil. They call that cowardly fear and a weak loser and wicked person. That's wicked to the wicked to run away from evil. You didn't protect someone. Have they ever read not to mingle in someone else's wickedness and affairs? Don't they read that in his word in Proverbs? And how many examples? That's someone seeking evil. That's someone needing to worship their image and do it so that they look good, so they can look good on the news. They beat up the guy and save someone. Let the world do that wickedness. Father, save someone's literal life through that wickedness. Let it be. So what? It doesn't change that they did evil. How will they justify it? By trying to tell you, what if it wasn't done? Then the person's life wouldn't. We don't work like that. Sorry. There is no what ifs like that. It's not for us to do those works. Let the world do that. Father works through all of that too. For carnal things, he works through man. They don't understand that. What do they understand? Well, nothing. Not if they don't seek to do his will and have his spirit at all. They're not his then, like we read. Someone that doesn't have the spirit of Messiah, they're not his. They're not sons. They can call themselves sons of the living Elohim all they want, and it means nothing. It's not true. They're not that, and they know they're not that somewhere deep inside because they're not that. That has a reality effect of being in death and in sin constantly, to not be of him. It's not working. Their wide gate way that they chose, that they think they chose, is not working. Their religion isn't working, so they go around trying something else until they find what they think is right and best and better than everyone else, and it's not working. They're in death still. They're in fear still. Cowardly fear. Those that fear, their love is not perfected, because love casts out fear, and fear is torment. The world teaches torment. It teaches cowardly fear. It tells you to be worried. It commands you to die. Because if someone's being cowardly fearful through listening to someone's lying words and they obey those words and eat that unclean food, they are dying. Therefore, they teach people to die. They don't have to say those words for it to be true in reality, in the heart, in heaven. They teach people to die by teaching people to be cowardly, afraid, and worrying for tomorrow constantly. That's this world. Teaches hell to torment people and break their knees so that they sin, so that they can be easily controlled by their ministers and leaders and come back to them constantly through evil, coming back through the bad way, through worshiping their image, and not through any kind of good. Those people can't love the minister that lies to them and deceives them. They don't. They worship his image, which looks like love for an image to the world. It's not actual love. Their heart cannot love the one that lies to them. It's not possible. Father doesn't bless that. He doesn't allow someone to love someone from what love is when someone's lying to you constantly. They don't love their ministers and pastors. They just have to act like they do by worshiping their image. All kinds of intentions, motives, and reasons to do that, because that denomination is running from sin, because it justifies all their sin. That's how they can look like they love it, because it's all sin. If it was truth, they would be gone instantly. They would burn someone on the stake if truth was spoken there. They'd throw that person right out the window. And if they unleash the beast a little, if a restraint is loose, they'd literally kill the person that spoke truth. They want to. They already did it with the heart. A little bit of restraint for not letting someone kill someone is not good. It's not proving someone is good. Holding back a dog from violently chewing someone up doesn't make the dog righteous. It's wicked because it wants to chew someone up in its heart. It doesn't matter whether it literally does that or not. It's wicked for wanting to. It's already doing the murder in heaven, in high places. The spiritual host and spiritual wickedness in heavenly places, in high places, in the heart. What do? Blame it on the Roman Catholic beast system. That's what high places only means. By creating this carnal, lying devil definition to high places in that scripture, they justify their sin. And it has nothing to do with their heart, high places in the heavenlies. They justify all their sin by blaming it on the Catholic Church world, or whatever the blame is. That's what high places mean. It's over there, pointing, see? It's over there somewhere, always pointing to someone else, blaming them. These things have to be sought after to understand them. No one can understand it just from hearing these words right now alone. Father has to teach someone. Messiah has to teach them in their heart what the words mean and give power to be able to do them. The law only continues. The carnal understanding of the law from the carnal man. What does Romans 7:5 say? For when we were in the flesh, the sinful passions which were aroused by the law were at work in our members to bear fruit to death. But now we have been delivered from the law, Does this mean we're apart from the law completely? No. But did they ask for understanding for what this means? No. But now we have been delivered from the law, having died to what we were held by, so that we should serve in the newness of the Spirit and not in the oldness of the letter. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? No, certainly not. But didn't it sound like it? Yeah, to the carnal man it sounded like it, therefore it is. On the contrary, I would not have known sin except through the law. For I would have not have known covetousness unless the law had said, you shall not covet. When they hear a command carnally like that, you shall not covet, that arouses them to break it because they can't keep what that means. But sin, taking opportunity by the commandment, produced in me all manner of evil desire. For apart from the law, sin was dead. I was alive once without the law, but when the commandment came, sin revived and I died. What on earth is he talking about? They don't know because they don't care at all. They don't ask. They don't want to know. And the commandment which was to bring life, I found to bring death. For sin, taking occasion by the commandment, deceived me. Father deceives the deceiver. Man is only able to do evil. The Father doesn't have to do anything for man to do evil. We need the Creator's life and spirit. Man's already evil and doing evil, but it cannot acknowledge that and has zero accountability and acknowledgement for what it is, a sinner, evil. Commandment deceived me, and by it it killed me. Therefore the law is set apart or holy, and the commandment holy and just and good. Well, it didn't sound like it to the religion, did it? It's a contradiction because to them it's a contradiction because it's a contradiction in their heart. They don't understand it. It's not his word that's a contradiction. They put their contradiction onto his word and then say his word is wicked. The Creator's wicked. His word contradicts because they are contradiction, because they don't understand it and seek understanding. It dumps its sins, contradiction, onto something else. Has then what is good become death to me? Certainly not, but sin, that it might appear as sin, was producing death in me through what is good, so that sin through the commandment might become exceedingly sinful. For we know, for those who believe and know the Father, we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. For what I am doing I do not understand, for what I will to do, that I do not practice, but what I hate, that I do. If then I do what I will not to do, I agree with the law that it is good, but now it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells in me. For I know that in me, that is my flesh, in my flesh, nothing good dwells. No righteousness of self is what that means. For to will is present with me, but how to perform what is good I do not find. For the good that I will to do I do not do, but the evil I will not to do, that I practice. Now if I do what I will not to do, it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells in me. Sounds like a cop-out, doesn't it? That's what the wicked will say this is for a believer. When this truth is actually real and applying for a believer, then it attacks and murders it and says you're doing evil because it's real and true now that we need his grace. Now when it actually applies and they see it, they murder you. They attack it. They hate the truth. They only acted like they knew and did what this meant. They hate what it means. They never do it. Now if I do what I will not to do, it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells in me. I find then a law, that evil is present with me, the one who wills to do good, for the one who wills to do good. For I delight in the law of Elohim according to the inward man. But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death? I thank Elohim through Yehoshua Messiah, our Master. So then with the mind I myself serve the law of Elohim, but with the flesh, the law of sin. Fiery words to the carnal man that hates all things and truth and good. There is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Messiah Yehoshua. who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in Messiah, Yehoshua, has made me free from the law of sin and death. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, through man's inability, that's what flesh is, carnal, self-works, through the flesh. The law was weak. Why? Because it was being worked by man and his own righteousness and trying of self. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, Elohim did by sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh on account of sin. He condemned sin in the flesh, put it to death, that the righteous requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us, who do not walk according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit. For those who live according to the flesh, their own works, apart from the Father's righteousness and belief in him, set their minds on the things of the flesh, but those who live according to the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace, because the carnal mind is enmity against Elohim, for it is not subject to the law of Elohim, nor indeed can be. So then those who are in the flesh cannot please Elohim. But you are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit, if indeed the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you. Why do we read if? Because it doesn't apply to those that don't believe. Now, if anyone does not have the Spirit of Messiah, he is not his. And if Messiah is in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Spirit is life because of righteousness, Father's righteousness. Putting to death the flesh, condemning the flesh, putting it to death, the old man, so that we can live. But if the Spirit of him who raised Yehoshua from the dead dwells in you, if he who raised Messiah from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies through his Spirit who dwells in you. This is not a religious word and sick game. This is real, and those that don't believe don't have his actual Spirit, which is real, that dwells in his people for real. Therefore, brethren, we are not debtors, not to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. For as many as are led by the Spirit of Elohim, these are sons of Elohim. Do I have to be from physical seed of some Trinity to be a son of Elohim? From God's physical sperm and seed to be a son? Is that their understanding of Messiah being the son of Elohim, the only begotten son, even the only one in the whole world at the time that was a true son of the Father? These are sons of Elohim. If that's their understanding of it, then how could there be any other sons? Well, it's the devil's doctrine. The devil doesn't believe there are any believers. It cannot believe that. Their doctrine teaches this reality, but they hide it through their cover. Through darkness, they teach their doctrines and never say what it really means, for what their heart really believes in reality, that it's literally thinking in its own thoughts. It does not believe there are any actual true believers. Their doctrine proves they don't believe that, because you have to be from the physical sperm of God, Trinity, to be the son of Elohim. That's what they say that Jesus Christ is. Don't they read Messiah's teaching, that which is born of the Spirit is spirit, that which is born of the flesh is flesh, and there's a separation between the two, rightly dividing? So concerning that Messiah's natural birth, he's from the seed of David. Concerning being a son of the Creator, of the Most High, he has the Father's Spirit, which is to be his son. Separate. Therefore, a believer does not need to be from the physical seed of the Trinity to be a son of Elohim. For you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of Elohim. How wicked and evil it is to say we are and answer someone's question if they ask. What are we going to answer? The truth or the lie? What if someone is and they know they are? Because the Spirit bears witness with our spirit that we are. And if we say we are, what, we did evil now? That's prideful to them now? Did they ask that question out of wickedness? Yes, they did. They had evil intention. They didn't actually ask a question for what it means in heaven. They only had one answer predetermined for you, which is no. And if you answer yes, you are God. You are prideful, just like they said of Messiah. Are you the son of the living Elohim? And then he answers eventually and says that he is. Now it's wicked what Messiah did. Now they have to kill him for answering truthfully, right? They only had one answer in mind, which is no. That's the only answer available to the natural man because he does not believe that believers exist. He only makes it look like he believes believers exist. The natural man cannot be subject to the law and cannot believe in believers, even existing. And if children, then heirs, heirs of Elohim, and joint heirs with Messiah, if indeed we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together. What will happen at the end? If someone suffered with him, they will be glorified together with him. And even now receiving life and reward, but speaking of things to come also. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory, which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of Elohim. For the creation was subjected to futility not willingly, but because of him who subjected it in hope. Because the creation itself will be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of Elohim. For we know that the whole creation groans and labors with birth pains together until now. Not only that, but we also who have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, eagerly waiting for the adoption, the redemption of the body, of our body. For we were saved in this hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. For why does one still hope for what he sees? Therefore the natural man is blind, he doesn't see anything. It's foolishness to him, all of the Father's truth. While the Father is giving believers to see all kinds of things, even right now. But there are things we can't see, and that's what hope is. We don't see a way maybe for something that we're struggling with. We don't see it, but we hope and wait for it. Right now, that's applying in real life right now, and not just things to come, which it applies for, but hoping, waiting, believing that he will make a way for what we can't see how it'll work. But if we hope for what we do not see, we eagerly wait for it with perseverance. The heart has to be taught by the Creator, as Messiah said. They shall all be taught by Elohim. What does that mean? Taught by the wicked carnal man through the carnal way? No. They shall all be taught by Elohim. He teaches. He gives the law. He says how it works. He teaches our heart. He gives the power through Messiah, doing all things and not apart from him. So then this, you heard what it was said, is man's lack of any understanding. It's what he thinks it means and what he heard, that it never actually meant at any time. They never did what was righteous according to the Father's righteousness and the law of the Spirit and the spiritual law. That is an example of what religion is. Natural Jerusalem is the harlot. It always was concerning real things. They rebuilt it after the Father destroyed it. He had much patience and long suffering on it. Still does on the wicked to this day. They rebuilt it and spread their abominations, and it multiplied it. And they fornicated with all the kings of the earth, like we read in Revelation. We're looking at the latter end of that prophecy that's working, always working. We're looking at the latter end of its almost completion for what the harlot has done. Fornicated with the beast, loves adultery and spiritual fornication. And through it, it multiplied its wicked children and seed through fornication. not wanting children out of good and out of life, but accidentally, through lust and fornication, a child popped out of wickedness, out of wicked evil intent, out of lust and adultery and spiritual fornication. They keep on spreading weeds and growing weeds, and the sons of the devil are from the devil planting the seeds. Who are the sons of the Father? The Son of Man that is the good, plants the good seed. But the wicked and the weeds is what the devil plants, Messiah says, through his messengers, working the same way, except only for evil, but working through people, through the worldly wicked and the kingdoms of the world. It does and works the same way that the Father works, in that through man, but it's all wickedness instead of good. Father doesn't do wickedness. Here's Messiah speaking the truth. Some of the scribes, so he got into a boat, crossed over, and came to his own city. Then behold, they brought to him a paralytic lying on a bed. When Yehoshua saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, be of good cheer, your sins are forgiven." And at once some of the scribes said within themselves, "This man blasphemes." Right? Because the good works of the Father is blasphemy to the wicked. But Yehoshua, knowing their thoughts, knowing their heart, which comes from the heart, thoughts don't come from the mouth, they come from the heart, out of the mouth. Yehoshua, knowing their thoughts, said, "Why do you think evil in your hearts? For which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven you,' or to say, 'Arise and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has power on earth to forgive sins." Then he said to the paralytic, "Arise, take up your bed, and go to your house." So now when Messiah heals someone, what do? They hate it. Pharisees hate it. They don't believe it. They can't believe their eyes. They don't want to believe it, can't believe what they see. They don't believe in healing. They don't believe in any believers. They don't believe the blind are getting healed. Those that could never walk are walking. They don't believe it. Today, right now, the whole religion doesn't believe it. But the natural man only can see what? Literal walking and literal sight. They don't know what it means. They don't see the power of it. Messiah says, "Follow me." When Yehoshua heard that, he said to them, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" Because they're so self-righteous and better than everyone. They already condemned everyone in their heart. When Yehoshua heard that, he said to them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician." It's based on what someone says with the Father. If it's a lie, then they'll be in death, and they'll get lies back. If they deceive, they'll be deceived back. They murder's coming to them back. Eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Judgment from above through his people today, allowing the Father to work that judgment to avenge his servants. So we keep those letters in the law, having nothing to do with what the carnal man thinks, and not doing the carnal wicked work and literally plucking someone's eye out or slapping them back. They don't know what it means. Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice. Hosea 6:6. For I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. There are none righteous. It's a mockery. It's a righteous mockery Messiah is teaching here. There's none that are well of self. All are sick, but they say that they're well. Therefore, those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Someone that says they're well in their heart, the Father doesn't heal them. He doesn't see that as what they secretly do. They have to acknowledge the truth. They say those words, that's what he goes by. Righteousness. For I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance. The critical text removes repentance, as it does so many things like this, because it's wicked. That's been my discernment on it. course it removes repentance. For then it would just say, for I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners. That's it, done. We would know what that means. A believer would know what that means, but nevertheless, call sinners to repentance. Yeah, they don't like that so much. We'll just remove it and create our own delusional reasons for some kind of textual variance and come up with a bunch of excuses and justifications for why we removed it. We'll never tell you why we actually did it. And we're all in on it because we're all of our father, the devil, and we're against our own selves and divided against our own selves in confusion, the land of confusion. They came to John saying, why do we and the Pharisees fast often, but your disciples do not fast? What's the heart constantly doing secretly? All kinds of sins. It's doing these sins secretly. It doesn't even have to say the words to be doing these things. It's what the heart does in religion when it sees what's right and good. It's constantly doing evil. And Yehoshua said to them, can the friends of the bridegroom mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? Well, yes. Why would someone mourn if the bridegroom is with them himself? But the days will come when the bridegroom will be taken away from them, and they will fast. No one puts a piece of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the path pulls away from the garment, and the tear is made worse. Nor they do put new wine into old wineskins, or else the wineskins break. The wine is spilled, and the wineskins are ruined. But they put new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved. What's the carnal man do? One or the other. What does it really do? It bursts. It has to be both. And understanding two things together, working together. New wineskins and new wine, and both are preserved. What can he do for us? Be of good cheer. Daughter, your faith has made you well. That's his power. He could do that. But when someone doesn't believe, they will never see it. And this world is not seeing it. We can't go based on what this world is and say, the Creator is unrighteous. Faith has failed again. Someone got sick and died. No, actual understanding and some righteous judgment and sight is needed to see all those things. It's not through faithlessness that the Father is working. Nevertheless, he does a lot of good things carnally for the wicked and gives many gifts to men and makes the rain cloud rain on the righteous and the wicked. He does that nevertheless, but they will never see life and the true blessings, the world, because it's in unbelief. He doesn't work like that. He doesn't give for someone sinning. Doesn't bless someone for sin. So they'll take what they see in this world and be greatly offended and try to say the Creator does nothing because they don't see it. When they do see it, they don't believe it. Very partial and biased, isn't it? The natural man, very biased. When he sees it, then he doesn't believe, does he? He says nobody healed that blind person. Nobody made this person walk. They don't believe it. They get hardened and walk away believing their lie and forget about it and wax worse because they didn't want to believe it or discern it or ask the Creator anything. Their heart did evil. Make room, for the girl is not dead but sleeping. They ridiculed him. When the crowd was put outside, he went in and took her by the hand, and the girl arose. And the report of this went out into all that land. Of course it would do that. Of course. And all the leaders of the world and pharaohs and gods and kings of the world and kingdoms get worried. They're getting worried. One of them, Herod, right, was so worried and afraid. What a weird, strange thing. Just in case the prophecy in his word is true. Kill all the 2-year-old and under. We're so cowardly fearful. Wipe him out. Make sure that person is dead so that our kingdoms are never taken. That's the devil working through Herod, knowing that. Man doesn't even know, but that wickedness is working through the man. And he does his father's works of the devil and worships his father, the devil, in wickedness and carnality instead of spirit and in truth towards the true Father and Creator. So cowardly afraid, need to kill Messiah because of what the devil is worried about. Pride, being God, being the ruler, controlling people, power, lust, pride, seeing self as wise, amazing, strong, in control when it's out of control completely and has no control concerning any good at all, has no control, zero. It's never done a good work a day in its life and it thinks it has control. It's out of control and sin, handed over to their sin and lust to complete them so that they can be judged, so that the power and righteousness of the Creator can be shown and manifested to all and known in due time who he is and what he's doing and what he's done. And that man is a wicked little worm, and steaming in pride and smoking day and night in the torment. It's tormented day and night for the age to the ages of the ages. Every generation and passing by to the ages of the ages in time, someone is smoking and tormented by the presence of the Lamb in spirit. They're being judged every day. The fool's back is being hit with the rod every day, and they can't figure out why, and don't want to acknowledge that that's happening, that they're in death. They don't want to acknowledge that they're just a little man or woman, a worm, and not the Creator. But in pride, it wants to be the God in control that says, and therefore it is. Someone says, I believe. Well, why do they believe? Because they said so. They believe because they said the words, I believe, and therefore they believe because they said the words that they believe. It's an infinite circle of foolishness and lies because they said the words. That's why. What do you mean I don't believe? I said it. I believe. It's how blind it is. It's like a carnal little child. What does that mean? Nothing. What's your heart doing? That'll show whether you believe or not. What are your works doing? And he gets right to the point. And what is it, John? James? Right to the point. Clear. Simple. I'll show you my faith by my works. What are you going to do? Show me your faith with your wickedness? I don't think so. You'll show me your faithlessness by your wicked works. That's what he's saying. I'll show you my faith by my works, he says. Because these two work together as one. Someone that believes in the Father, then the works they do is out of belief and faith that he works in someone. Fear him. Why? Maybe I need to find that verse, actually, because they use this a lot in the religion. Uh, Trying to find that verse, and I got out of the stream. Philippians 2, I think. What's going on? Why is it doing this? Where's the option for stupid apps? Okay, read. Philippians. This is a pretty known verse that they like to stop at a certain spot that I've seen over the years. 2:13, I think. Therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. They like to stop there. They do that so often. Why? Because they insert their doctrine of hell of demons. and put onto his word and add to it. When it says do not add or take away, they add to the meaning of his word all day long. They break the command of adding and removing. That doesn't mean adding and removing literal letters only. What does it mean in heaven? What is the spiritual meaning of adding and removing? They always add to his word. When you imply something, that's adding to his word. Or if you do the opposite, taking away from his word. Do not do. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And then they talk about hell or something. Why? We read, for it is Elohim who works in you, both to will and to do for his good pleasure. Why fear and trembling? Because it's the Creator himself that works in you to both will and to do for his good pleasure. That's why fear and trembling, some reason for that. The proper fear, the good fear and trembling, and not the cowardly fear. Cowardly fear never obeys these words. It never does good. This fear and trembling of the Creator will lead to good, to do good. For it is Elohim who works in you, both to will and to do. It's not outside of his creation. He works through people. Do all things without complaining and disputing, that you may become blameless, harmless, children of Elohim without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation. Wow, how much do these words apply today to this generation? Surprise, it still applies perfectly because it's a wicked and crooked generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world, holding fast the word of life, so that I may rejoice in the day of Messiah, that I have not run in vain or labored in vain. He's bringing out the good that it produced when he's saying in vain. That it worked out for something in good, to bring it out by saying, I have not run in vain or labored in vain. Yes, and I am being poured out as a drink offering on the sacrifice and service of your faith. I am glad and rejoice with you all for the same reason. You also be glad and rejoice with me. They like that verse to stop there and put their own understanding and their own evil and hell doctrine so often. And they don't like saying, for it is Elohim who works in you both to will and to do. That goes against their free will, isn't it? Now, some will be able to read those words because they've applied a carnal, wicked, false definition to them. And then it'll look like they believe those words, but in their heart, something else is going on. It's just blind. It's just reading everything blindly and doesn't believe, see, or acknowledge or see what it means. If they did, and you try to explain it a little bit, it will be proven that they believe in free will and that they are gods in their own mind and heart through pride. That it's an abomination to them that the Father is actually working his will and not our own through us, and doing our own will is a delusion. There is no power in it. It doesn't work. How does he prove it doesn't work? Someone's in death constantly, in condemnation constantly. That's how he proves it doesn't work. They don't even know how he proves things. That's not how it works in religion. That's not proof to them. Just randomly open up somewhere and see what happens. If I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true. There is another who bears witness of me, and I know that the witness which he witnesses of me is true. You have sent to John, and he has borne witness to the truth, yet I do not receive testimony from man. But I say these things that you may be saved. He was the burning and shining lamp, and you were willing for a time to rejoice in his light. But I have a greater witness than John's. For the works which the Father has given me to finish, the very works that I do, I bear witness of me, that the Father has sent me. The world cannot hear these words. And the Father himself who sent me has testified of me. They can't hear that because they don't believe in the Father. They don't know for real. Messiah can speak out of knowing because the Father is speaking to him to bear witness as another witness of self. Therefore, two witnesses for self and the Father as a witness. You have neither heard his voice at any time nor seen his form. But you do not have his word abiding in you, because whom he sent, him you do not believe. You search the script. This is actually one of my verses in the description. You search the scriptures, for in them you think You have age-abiding life, and these are they which testify me. But you are not willing to come to me that you may have life. I do not receive honor from men, but I know you, that you do not have the love of Elohim in you. I have come in my Father's name, and you do not receive me. If another comes in his own name, him you will receive. So when we talk about this, the world will think it's wicked and hate it and think it's prideful because they don't know what it means to receive a believer or believe in a believer. It has nothing to do with pride or being God or controlling someone. Now, what does the world do? It's a hypocrite, because if another comes in their name, you receive them. Him you will receive if they come in their own. Do they do what this receiving is? Yes, they do, but they do the evil. Then we speak of receiving or believing in a believer. Nobody believes in them. The world doesn't believe in a believer, doesn't believe in you. But when someone comes in their own name, then these people will receive that person that comes in his own name and not the Father's name. Him you will receive. How can you believe who receive honor from one another and do not seek the honor that comes from the only Elohim? Is there more than one Elohim? In reality, there are many so-called Elohims, but to us there's only one Elohim and one Master, one Messiah. One Elohim only. Messiah taught so. There's no multiple gods in reality. There's no Trinity. Messiah is not the only Elohim. He's Messiah. He's who the Father says he is. He's not Elohim. He's not the creator. Do not think that I shall accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, Moses, in whom you trust. For if you believe Moses, you would believe me, for he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words? They lie to you when they say they believe in the Old Testament or something and deny Messiah. Moses wrote of Messiah. Liars. You don't believe those words that we read through Moses, the Father's word through Moses. If you did believe, we read there, for if you believe Moses, you would believe in me. So they don't believe in Moses. When they say they do, they're lying. For he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words? They can't. They won't. They'll deny it all. And then still try to claim they believe in Moses, which is why Messiah is saying, in whom you trust. It's a delusion. Yes, they have this trust in Moses, but they don't actually believe the words. They don't believe that Moses spoke of him. They don't believe. But they have their trust as an image. They tell you that's whom they trust, but they don't even do that truthfully. But that just has to be discerned. Every word has to be discerned, understanding why Messiah says, in whom you trust. That is true, but they don't actually believe it. Not even Moses. They don't actually even truthfully trust in Moses. But they're in a delusion. They're in a deception. They claim to and hold on to that they trust in Moses, but they don't believe at all, even his words. Therefore, they cannot claim in heaven, in reality, that they believe in Moses. They don't really. If they did, they would believe in Messiah then. And if not, if you don't believe his writings concerning the heart, not actually believing in the heart his writings, how will you believe my words? How? There's no way. Someone can see how there is no way for that to be possible spiritually. There's no way. But Jeshurun grew fat and kicked. You grew fat. You grew thick. You are obese. Then he forsook Elohim who made him, and scornfully esteemed the rock of his salvation. They provoked him to jealousy with foreign Elohims. With abominations they provoked him to anger. They sacrificed to demons, not to Elohim. To Elohims or gods they did not know. To new gods, new arrivals, that your fathers did not fear. On the rock who you begot, who begot you. You are unmindful and have forgotten the Elohim who fathered you. What will the Father do? And when Yehovah saw it, he spurned them because of the provocation of provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, this is in Deuteronomy, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end will be. For they are a perverse generation. I think we just read or spoke about that earlier, a perverse, crooked generation, Messiah said. Look, it's true way back here too. Hey, it's always true, his word, every generation. For they are a perverse generation, children in whom is no. It's not picking up very good, is it? Very small. Yeah, it's not picking up though. This is Deuteronomy 32, verse 20. I will hide my face from them. I will see what they're in, for they are a perverse generation, children in whom is no faith. They have provoked me to jealousy by what is not Elohim. They have moved me to anger by their foolish idols. But I will provoke them to jealousy by those who are not a nation. I will move them to anger by a foolish nation. For a fire is kindled in my anger and shall burn to the lowest hell, to the lowest Sheol, the grave. It shall consume the earth with her increase. Oops. And set on fire the foundations of the mountains. I will heap disasters on them. I will spend my arrows on them. They shall be wasted with hunger, devoured by pestilence and bitter destruction. I will also send against them the teeth of beasts, with the poison of serpents of the dust. The sword shall destroy outside. There shall be terror within. For the young man and virgin, the nursing child with the man of gray hairs, I would have said, I will dash them in pieces. I will make the memory of them to cease from among them, from among men, had I not feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should misunderstand, lest they should say, our hand is high, and it is not Yehovah who has done all this. What do? Father doesn't do any of this. Of course not. That's wicked. God is wicked. His judgments are wicked. He doesn't do any of this. They could read that in their own word. How come they can read that all the time and through the examples and stories, the Father's word and truth? They don't believe that they do this. They are doing this. Do they want to read about themselves? Here we go. Lest they should say, our hand is high, and it is not Yehovah who has done all this. For they are a nation void of counsel, nor is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. How could one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, unless their rock had sold them, and Yehovah had surrendered them? For their rock is not like our rock, even our enemies themselves being judges. For their vine is of the vine of Sodom, and of the field of Gomorrah. Their grapes are grapes of gall. Their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of serpents and the cruel venom of cobras. Is this not laid up in store with me, sealed up among my treasures? Vengeance is mine and recompense. Oh, wow. Another verse specifically in the description. Second one now that I just randomly opened to. Vengeance is mine and recompense. Their foot shall slip in due time, for the day of their calamity is at hand, and the things to come hasten upon them. For Yehovah will judge his people and have compassion on his servants when he sees that their power is gone. You know what someone can do now and take advantage of is everything in the description on this one was put in there before starting the video. But what can someone claim though? What can they claim I did? That I put them in the description, but I planned to open up randomly to the verses and land on what I put in the description first and flip it around and say that we're liars. Well, they can do that. But if we know the truth like we read, yes is yes, no is no, let them do that. Let them believe that. Let them do their thing and not attack, threaten, desperately try to defend and prove what we know is true in heaven, because I don't need to do that when I know I'm not lying, and neither does any other believer. And compassion on his servants when he sees that their power is gone and there is no one remaining bond or free, he will say, where are their gods, the rock in which they sought refuge, who ate the fat of their sacrifices and drank with wine of their drink offering? Let them rise and help you and be your refuge. Now see that I, even I, am he, and there is no Elohim besides me. That's why Messiah says, the only Elohim and the only true Elohim. There is no Elohim beside me. I kill, I make alive, I wound, and I heal, nor is there any who can deliver from my hand. For I raise my hand to heaven and say, as I live forever, if I whet, however that's pronounced, W-E-H-E-T, my glittering sword, and my hand takes hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies and repay those who hate me. I will make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword shall devour flesh. With the blood of the slain and the captives from the heads of the leaders of the enemy. Rejoice, O Gentiles, with his people, for he will avenge the blood of his servants. We read this in Revelation 2. And render vengeance to his adversaries. He will provide atonement for his land and his people. When? Right now, for those that believe. He is doing these good things and works. He's repaying. He's providing atonement for his land and his people today, for those that believe right now. I charge you therefore before Elohim and the Master Yehoshua Messiah, who will judge the living and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom. Preach the word, be ready in season and out of season. Convince, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and teaching, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but according to their own desires, because they have itching ears, they will heap up for themselves teachers, and they will turn their ears away from the truth and be turned aside to fables. But you be watchful in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, fulfill your ministry. A crown of righteousness, which the Master, the righteous judge, will give to me on that day, and not to me only, but also to all who love his appearing. They sure make a show for loving his appearing carnally in this world, don't they? For Messiah's coming and the pre-trib rapture. Is that what this means? Did they really actually love his coming through doing the will of the Father, through obeying Messiah's words? That's how those past tense will become true, to also, not to me only, but also to all who have loved his appearing. That's what will end up happening for all those that believe. They will have loved his appearing. Those that don't know him, they do not want his appearing. They have nothing to do with him now at all, and hate him bitterly. Demas has forsaken me, having loved the present world, and has departed for Thessalonica. Some more troubles at his end, more fraudulent fake believers, pretenders that betray and forsake nonstop for their own gain, for the pleasures of this world, like we believe, because they loved this present world and age and its wickedness. For the grace of Elohim that brings salvation has appeared to all men, teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and Elohimly in the present age, looking for the blessed hope and glorious appearing of our great Elohim and Savior, Yehoshua Messiah, who gave himself for us, that he might redeem us from every lawless deed. The apostle didn't teach any good. The apostle taught to break the law all the time, break every law, that he might redeem us from what? That means every lawless deed, and purify for himself his own special people, zealous for good works. Speak these things, exhort, and rebuke with all authority. Let no one despise you. Remind them to be subject to rulers and authorities, to obey, to be ready for every good work, to speak evil of no one, to be peaceable, gentle, showing all humility to all men. For we also were once foolish, disobedient, deceived, serving various lusts and pleasures, living in malice and envy, hateful and hating one another. But when the kindness and the love of Elohim and Savior toward man appeared, not by works of righteousness which we have done, but according to his mercy, he saved us through the washing of regeneration and renewing of the set-apart Spirit, whom he poured out on us abundantly through Yehoshua Messiah, our Savior, that having been justified by his grace, we should become heirs according to the hope of eternal life, each abiding life. This is a faithful saying, and these things I want you to affirm constantly, that those who have believed in Elohim should be careful to maintain good works. These things are good and profitable to men, but foolish disputes, genealogies, contentions, strivings about the law, for they are unprofitable and useless. Reject the divisive man after the first and second admonition, knowing that such a person is warped and sinning, being self-condemned. Maintaining good works. Let our people also learn to maintain good works, to meet urgent needs that they may not be unfruitful. So much in his word. Someone has to see what their heart actually does and wants. How will they see without any light? They'll just say they don't do it. They'll just say what the world does with its heart and works. I didn't say that. I didn't do that. I didn't say that. Just constantly lying and denying everything constantly. Does someone believe they lied in that moment when they said, I didn't say that? Of course they didn't. They have to justify that too, and they just walked away lying, never repenting of that one lie in life the rest of their life. How many more lies did they do that day? Lying is sin. You shall not lie. Carnal Jews, have you ever read the law? Do you know what it means? You shall not lie. You shall not bear false witness and bring false witnesses that deny Messiah openly and think that they're true witnesses. You shall not bear false witness, liars. Don't you know that anyone just opening their mouth can't be a true witness because they say they are? That's why we read, you shall not bear false witness, that a heavy judgment will come on your head if you bear false witness for real. Better be sure your witness is true if you're going to make a judgment on someone and bear false witness against them. You go blinder than they already are, maybe even taking your literal sight. You never know what the Creator will do for someone's wickedness. They think they can mock him and just bear false witness and lie all the time, and nothing bad will happen to them. No judgment will come in their mind. Not so. And a believer needs to know that doing good produces good, and the Father will bless and reward those that do good. And if we do evil, then a judgment will come and correction will be needed to find out what it is and do the correction, which is repent, and then do the good thing. There's a lot more that could be said on these things concerning this title and the video, and it's so deep. It's all connected in one. Lot to see and learn. Beware of dogs, beware of evil workers, beware of the mutilation. For we are not the circumcision who worship, for we are the circumcision who worship Elohim in the Spirit. Rejoice in Messiah Yehoshua and have no confidence in the flesh, though I also might have confidence in the flesh. If anyone else thinks he may have confidence in the flesh, I more so, circumcised the 8th day, of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin, a Hebrew of the Hebrews, concerning the law, a Pharisee, concerning zeal, persecuting the church, the true body, the ecclesia, concerning the righteousness which is in the law, blameless. Can someone see what this is meaning? That to be blameless apart from the Creator is to be wicked and not blameless at all? Concerning the righteousness which is in the law, through that man's understanding and flesh understanding, blameless. The one that's blameless and perfect concerning the law and how it was understood and how it's still carnally only understood. If they were perfect in it, they would still be full-blown sinners. How can't people see? But they'll think they're blameless, and they don't even do what the apostle did. They don't even do what some of the people of old did concerning the literal law. They don't even keep it carnally like they make a show for. They don't even keep the letters literally and all the different things that the letter says. They don't even do that, let alone keep what any of it is meaning for our heart. What things were gained to me, these I have counted loss for Messiah. Yet indeed I also count all things loss for the excellence of the knowledge of Messiah, Yehoshua my master, for whom I have suffered the loss of all things, and count them as rubbish, that I may gain Messiah and be found in him, not having my own righteousness, which is from the law, but that which is through faith in Messiah, the righteousness which is from Elohim by faith, that I may know him in the power of his resurrection, and the fellowship of his sufferings, being conformed to his death, if by any means I may attain to the resurrection from the dead. Not that I already attained or am already perfected, but I press on that I may lay hold of that which Messiah Yehoshua has also laid hold of me. Brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead. I press forward the goal for the prize of the upward call of Elohim in Messiah Yehoshua. Therefore let us, as many as are mature, have this mind, and if anything you think otherwise, Elohim will reveal even this to you. Nevertheless, to the degree that we have already attained, let us walk by the same rule. Let us be of the same mind. Join in following my example and note those who so walk as you have us for a pattern. For many walk, of whom I have told you often and now tell you, even weeping, that they are the enemies of the stake of Messiah, whose end is destruction, whose Elohim is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who set their mind on earthly things. For our citizenship is in heaven, from which we also eagerly wait for the Savior, the Master Yehoshua Messiah, who will transform our lowly body that it may be conformed to his glorious body, according to the working by which he is able even to subdue all things to himself. I think I'll end there. Peace, take care, seek truth from above.